Hey guys, Mark Cunningham at PM Build. So when was the last time you were involved in a lawsuit? I don't mean like an eviction lawsuit, but have you been sued? Have you ever been sued? It's one of the scary things that we in our industry hate. Now we're a very litigious industry, so let me offer some suggestions and thoughts on how to avoid ever getting sued. And what I want to do is take us out of the PM industry for a minute, and let's look at another industry that's even more litigious than ours, which is the medical industry. So there's been countless studies done as it relates to doctors. And all these studies are done typically by insurance companies. And they say, hey, how do we make sure that doctors get sued less? It can be very litigious and very expensive lawsuits. And so there's been all these studies done. And so what these companies have done on their studies is they look at things like, well, do some doctors use like better checklists? Do they send their patients in for more test results before they operate? Like they checked everything and they couldn't figure out. They couldn't actually measure why Group A got sued so much less than Group B. They acted exactly the same. Same policies, same procedures, same things that they did. But what it came down to at the end of the studies is simply this: bedside manner. You've heard of that terminology before. The doctors that had the better bedside manner, that could relate to their patients, that could communicate with their patients, got sued much, much less than those doctors that were doing the same exact thing, but had a poor bedside manner, that didn't communicate well, that had disagreements, that was argumentative. Let me share two aspects of these studies, two common points as it relates to some people that did get sued more and some people that did not get sued more. Let's look at the group that did not get sued more. This is what one of the studies said. It said doctors sued less often were those more likely to spend time educating patients, more likely to use humor, that sounds weird, humor and laugh with their patients, and more likely to try to get their patients to talk and express their opinion. So what do we learn from this? Like you're like, well, so what, Mark? I need to tell my clients jokes? Like, is that what we need to know? No. But what we need to know, the lesson is this: property management is a relationship-based business, not a transaction-related business. See, with these doctors here, what they did is they had a relationship with their clients. You don't laugh with people if it's purely transactional. You laugh with people when it's relational. Now, I'm not saying I'm realistic, right? We can't go out there and be best buddies with all of our owner clients, but you can make strides to improve the relationship you have. You all have those clients, just like we do, right? The ones that call you at Christmas to wish you Merry Christmas, ask you how your kids are doing. Now, not all of them, but there's a group of them like that. And you think those clients, like even if things got bad, they would never sue me. Why? Because we have a good relationship. So we want to ensure that, number one, relationship clients are the most effective. And there's a lot we could say about that, but we don't have time. Let's look at the client group number two, the ones that did get sued more. The study said this: doctors sued most often were complained about by patients twice as much complaining. They were complained about twice as much as those who were not, and poor communication, that sounds familiar, poor communication was the most common complaint. They were complained about twice as likely. Now, they could have been complained about because the doctors were doing a bad job. That's possible, right? Or maybe they were just complained about because those were the type of patients that like to complain. I was in for some acupuncture the other day, and I somehow was talking to the guy who's sticking me with the needles about lawsuits and difficult clients who complain. And he said, oh, when I'm working with a client and I sense they're a complainer, I want to get them off my books because I don't ever want them to sue me if I stick a needle in the wrong place. Didn't give me a lot of peace of mind, but you get the point, right? So rule number two, what we can learn from this is that a lawsuit is rarely a surprise. People that are going to sue you are probably have a history of complaining. Think about it this way. We as PMs, we're walking along a railroad track every day. Every day, you're walking down the track, and sometimes you're looking straight ahead, sometimes you get distracted over there, but you're on the railroad track. My advice to you, my friends, is this: when you see the train coming, get off the tracks. It's never a surprise, rarely a surprise, that you think, oh my gosh, everything was going so great with that owner client, everything was going so great with that tenant, and suddenly they're going to sue me. It doesn't happen that way, does it? It happens where they're not happy, you're in a disagreement, you don't return their calls, they yell at you, you yell back, it gets ugly, until this happens. Until wham, there's a train and you get hit. So when you see the train coming, my friends, please get off the tracks. I just recently completed doing some expert witness work for a case here in Colorado. And I, as the expert witness, was hired to come in and I had to review all this information. An owner was suing the property management company. So they brought me in as the expert witness, and there was it was like a meth case involved. It was a mess. It was a mess. But they gave me on the front end every piece of communication between the owner-client and the tenant and the property manager since the beginning of the relationship. And I had to review everything, every email, every phone call. It was awful. It was awful. But it went back years. It went back years. And the big thing that I took away is this. You could see the train wreck coming years in advance. The owner was never happy. They were always complaining about something. It was like this nasty transaction. It was not a healthy relationship at all for years until finally it culminated in the owner suing the property management company in this massive, nasty, ugly lawsuit. But you see it coming. You see these coming. So when you see these things coming, get out of the way. Now, before I share with you point number 3, I want to thank the sponsor for this video, Findigs. Are you familiar with these folks? This is pretty cool. This is a newer company in our industry. They help with applicant screening. So what these folks do is they have the applicant log into their system, and then they match up their bank transactions with what the applicant says is true. So it does verification of identity, does verification of income, verification of expenses. It's slick. I got the demo. I was blown away. It's very, very impressive. I'll put a link to the video in there. Check out Findigs. It may be a simpler, faster way for you to process your tenant applications. Okay, point number 3, to get sued less. My advice to you is this: stop trying to win. Now, by win, I don't mean like win a lawsuit, but when you get in a dispute with somebody, some of us, sometimes, and you know who you are, you want to win the argument. You want to be right. It doesn't matter. It's a principle thing. But Mark, I'm right. It doesn't matter that this is going to cost me a lot of money. I'm right. And I understand what you're saying. However, for me, for us, we've decided that winning the argument is not the proper outcome. See, in our industry, in our business, instead, we view the goal as making problems go away. That's a big distinction. Do you want to win, or do you want to make the problems go away? Because sometimes to make the problem go away, you have to lose the argument. You have to say, yep, okay, Mr. Owner, fine. I'll pay that bill for you, even though you know you're right or you think you're right. I'll just pay it. Why? Because I want to make the problem go away. It's not a principle thing. Sometimes it is, but more often than not, it's about making problems go away. And the clients, the owners, the property managers that I see get sued most often are those ones that want to be right, and they're going to fight and they're going to win because it's on principle and they're never going to back down. Okay, that's fine. You can do that, but you can expect to be spending a lot of your time and your money and your energy in court. I would much rather get a good night's sleep, make problems go away, and not worry about winning, but worrying about doing business the next day. Hey, at PM Build, we're all about helping you build your company, about growing your company, about protecting your company. Hopefully this will help you protect your business a little bit more so you can be around for the long-term success.